Ladies and gentlemen, you know, when I remember the history of the Freedmen Bank in America that was set up for former slaves, this government took part in a theft. And our forefathers lost $66 million dollars in deposits when they were encouraged by this US government, not only Congress, but Abraham Lincoln at the time encouraged them to put their money in this bank. And unfortunately, this bank for former slaves were 100% white controlled. And you know darn well when that money started pouring into the accounts, their intentions were to get their hands on that money. And that's exactly what they did. They stole the money, and our forefathers ultimately ended up with nothing. What's that saying? Never trust thy enemy? Yeah, definitely in this case. So let's get into this piece of history that we should never forget. How the US backed banks robbed ex slaves out of $66 million. And this is why we discuss reparations, and we're going to keep it out there because it goes way deeper than just chattel slavery. It's all of the things that happened after that, all the sabotaging that still goes on even to present day. All right, so Booker T. Washington, the founder of the Tuskegee Institutes and son of slave, wrote The Habits of Thrift and Economy. We are coming up. The American dream is deeply rooted in the belief that thrifting and saving are the necessary means to an end that is comprised of prosperity and abundance. Well, as far as I'm concerned, this government took part in a theft. And that's all the more reason why the federal government needs to pay up reparations. This belief, coupled with the banking needs of formerly enslaved Black soldiers, spurred the incorporation of the Freedmen's Savings and Trust Company in 1865. This bank is just what the freedmen need, proclaimed Abraham Lincoln on March 3rd, 1865, as he signed the Freedmen Bank Act and authorized the organization of a national bank for ex slaves. It really wasn't for us if it was not controlled by us. And that's why everybody got robbed. Okay, so due in part to aggressive recruiting tactics, a number of ex slave depositors grew rapidly from 1865 to 1870. 34 branches were established in cities across the nation, including Atlanta, Charleston, Philadelphia, and Washington, D.C. Go in any forenoon, and the office was found full of Negroes depositing little sums of money, drawing little sums, and remitting to a distant part of the country where they have relatives to support or debts to discharge, reported a Charleston journalist in 1867. And yet, thrifting and saving did not yield desired results. The dream of prosperity and abundance slowly spiraled into a nightmare of fraud, mismanagement, and discriminatory lending. In 1871, Congress authorized banks to provide business loans and mortgages. And these loans and mortgages primarily went to white people at the expense of Black depositors. Risky investments, lending patterns, coupled with cronyism and corruption at a level of upper management, slowly undermined the stability of the bank, according to a Black Past by 1874. So they had massive fraud among upper management and among the board of directors, which were all white, and it took its toll on the bank. Moreover, economic instability brought upon by the panic of 1873, coupled with the bank's rapid expansion, proved disastrous. Well, I mean, come on, it was to me, it was obvious they were gonna rob from these ex-slaves and the amount of money they had in there. Yeah. So the Freedmen Bank was officially closed on June 29th, 1874. At the point of closing, 61,144 Black depositors were robbed of the modern equivalent of $66 million. The failure of the bank left many Black depositors and borrowers distrustful of the white banking community, especially since the Freedmen Bank was established and managed by white men. In subsequent years, the white banking community has imposed higher interest rates on Black borrowers. They still do that and simply reject their applications for mortgages and small business loans. Although Black depositors should be far less concerned about being overtly robbed of their money today, research indicates that Blacks continue to be treated far worse than whites when seeking loans and mortgages, even when all of the variables, such as credit history and academic and professional credentials, are the same. If you are white and set out to get financing for entrepreneurial ventures, it might be tough to journey a professor at the Brigham Young University, but generally speaking, you would experience far fewer obstacles. Yeah, they get loans even when they're not even qualified for the loan. Even when they don't qualify for the loan, they still get it. Okay, so they face fewer obstacles and find more help along the way than if you came from the African American community. All right, so it goes into why we should all be banking Black, especially today, as a growing number of community leaders are supporting Black owned banking institution. Empowerment starts with ownership. That's true. But, even with Black banks, you better just read the bottom line. You know, all banking in America to some degree is shady. They all are. I mean, this is a very corrupt nation, and banking has always been corrupt from day one in this country. You can go back in history and find all kinds of things that have happened in banking and the bank failures. There's been a lot of bank failures all through the centuries. It's just never been really a good entity in this country at all. And it was never here to serve us anyway. So, so it's just encouraging us to take our money and bank Black to avoid a lot of the disparities. And you see what happens in these banks. You go in there with a check and they want to get on the phone and start calling the police. It's the most ridiculous. Those stories are so silly to me, but it does happen. So, y'all, this is all the more reason why reparations are in order. I mean, how do we know we didn't have relatives with money in these banks, you know? And the US government was the one that encouraged these former slaves to put their money in just so they could get robbed at the end of the day. Please leave your comment and subscribe. Don't forget to hit on the notification bell, and I'll see you on the next video. Peace. family.